Chapter 5.
She kept her distance, woke up earlier, left for university before breakfast, returned late, claiming project work, skipped dinner when she could. Her mother worried, Auntie prayed, and Mazen he pretended not to notice. Pretended, because pretending was easier than confronting what he saw in her eyes, the quiet plea to be left alone, the exhaustion of someone who no longer wanted to feel anything at all. Rahim, though, didn't understand silence. He mistook her coldness for modesty, her avoidance for shyness. And that misunderstanding was becoming dangerous. The evening sky blushed in soft shades of orange as a brand-new car rolled into the driveway, its surface gleaming under the porch lights. Zamer was the first to rush out, whistling. Zamer. Whoa, bro. Finally, a new car. Mama, Auntie, come see. Mazen smiled faintly, not the proud kind of smile, but one that held quiet excitement. He looked toward the house, almost searching. Mazen, then let's make it lucky. Everyone get ready, we're going for ice cream. His eyes lingered on the staircase, expecting a familiar voice to echo from above, a cheerful, I'm coming too, like before. But there was only silence. Inside, Hooram sat at the dining table, surrounded by her books. The sound of laughter from outside reached her ears. She froze for a second, that word ice cream stirring something deep, the memory of old evenings, of him holding the car door open, teasing her about eating too fast, of the warm laughter that made her feel like the world was right again. He appeared at the doorway, his voice gentle, almost hopeful. Mazen, you're coming, right? Everyone's waiting. She looked up, startled by the softness in his tone. Then, as if remembering the walls she'd built, she lowered her gaze. Hooram, I can't. I have a test tomorrow. Maybe next time. A pause. Just a pause, but it carried years of distance. Zamer, grabbing his cell phone, teased, She always has an exam now. I swear she's becoming grandmother before time. Everyone laughed, everyone but Mazen. He tried to smile, his hand tightening on the car keys. Mazen. All right then, next time. He turned to leave, but for a brief second, his eyes stayed on her, a flicker of something unspoken, like disappointment wrapped in quiet understanding. Later, as the family cheered around ice cream cups, Zamer laughed about flavors and Aunt fussed about brain freeze. But Mazen barely tasted his. He watched the empty seat beside him, the one that used to be filled with chatter and laughter. When they drove home, he carried an extra cup of her favorite flavor, vanilla fudge. He left it on the kitchen counter before heading upstairs. By morning, it had melted untouched. The house was alive with laughter, the scent of food, and the hum of conversation. But somewhere in that cheerful noise, something fragile was about to break. Hooram walked into the living room with a silver tray, the clinking of glasses softly echoing as she balanced it carefully in her hands. Her dupatta brushed against her arm, her steps light but hurried, the perfect guest, the perfect smile. She was just about to enter the dining area when voices, hushed yet sharp, reached her from the corner of the hallway. Alina's husband Ali's aunt, sitting with a smug grin, whispered to another relative, her words dripping contempt. Aunt, Rahim is losing his mind over that girl, your cousin looking at Alina. I don't understand what he sees. Beauty isn't everything. She has no father, just manage with that little pension of her father. What kind of grand wedding could they ever arrange for my son? A mocking chuckle. Aunt, let him chase her for now. He'll come to his senses soon enough. Before the sting could settle, Alina's voice cut through, sharp and trembling. Alina, Aunt, how can you say that about my sister? She's not alone, she has us. We're her family. The older woman smirked, unbothered. Aunt, if you care that much, daughter, Why don't you make her your sister-in-law? You have 2 brothers, don't you? Why should my son ruin his life for a girl with no background? The words sliced through the air, cruel, clear, and final. And they landed right in Hooram's chest. Her hands trembled. The tray tilted. Glasses clinked dangerously. The room blurred. The lights dimmed. Her heart thudded painfully as though something inside her just cracked. Her breath hitched, panic rising in her throat. Rejected. Again. Not enough. Never enough. She stumbled back, numb, her fingers barely holding onto the tray. And then she bumped into someone. Strong hands steadied her before the tray could fall. She turned, dazed. Mazen stood there, eyes wide with alarm. One look at her pale face, her trembling lips, and he knew.
Someone had said something.
Something that broke her. Without a word, he set the tray aside, his hand gently gripping her arm. Mazen softly, almost whispering, "Hooram, what happened?" Her eyes lifted to meet his, glassy, distant, almost lifeless. Then, in a voice so faint it barely existed, "Hooram, I want to go home, please." The desperation in her tone struck deeper than any explanation could. He didn't ask another question. He simply nodded once, the quiet, protective way he always had, and guided her out. His hand around hers was firm, steadying her when her steps faltered. He opened the car door, helped her in, and drove off, the headlights cutting through the dark silence. Back home, the house was quiet. She stepped out of the car without a word as she climbed the stairs. He followed her with his eyes, wanting to ask, to fix, to protect, but the look on her face told him she was too far gone in pain. She entered her room. The door clicked shut. He stood outside for a moment, staring at the wood between them. Then he knocked softly at first. No answer. He waited. Knocked again. Still silence. Finally, he pressed his forehead against the door and whispered, barely audible, "Mazen, I'm here, you're not alone, Hooram." But the only reply was the faint echo of her muffled sobs from the other side. A few quiet days had passed since that evening at Alina's house. Since then, Hooram had become a shadow within her own home, her door mostly shut. Will he keep waiting behind closed doors, or finally step into the storm to hold her forever? To know the answers, like and subscribe for it. Next update.